Questions number one. The questions number one is follow. What must be obtained to deploy a pay-as-you-go or PAYG-based VM series firewall in Amazon Web Services or AWS through the marketplace? The questions number two is follow. Which type of protection flow approach would best fit a customer requirement for application visibility and control between cloud-based web server and database server? The questions number three is follow. A cloud engineer is considered distributed models to support outbound and inbound traffic flows. Which of the traffic flows are all supported by the distributed model? The questions number four is follow. Which automation tools should be used to create policies for cloud next generation firewall for AWS? Number five is follow. What is the correct sequence of events for uploading by the Intelligent Traffic Offload or ITO services? Welcome everyone to 591 Lab. Today's topic, we will discuss about some questions from Palo Alto Networks Certified Software Firewall Engineer or PCSFE. PCSFE is the certification from Palo Alto Networks that validates your technical knowledge of the software firewalls products and services. Before we start, let me introduce you about the 591 Lab. 591lab.com is the top IT training and certification exam brand in China, Hong Kong, Taiwan, and Singapore. Our mission at 591 Lab is to provide our clients with exceptional exam preparation experience for certification in Cisco, Huawei, Aruba, Juniper, Palo Alto, and Fortinet exam threads. If you have any queries or questions about how to advance your technology career, please don't hesitate to contact us at 591lab.com. Let's go to the questions number one. The questions number one is follow. What must be obtained to deploy a pay-as-you-go or PAYG-based VM series firewall in Amazon Web Services or AWS through the marketplace? The options will be A. MAC address, B. Amazon Machine Image or EMI, or C. Amazon Outcode, or D. PanOS update. To answer this question, let's check the requirement to deploy VM series firewall in AWS on the next slide. Here is the AWS marketplace to deploy VM series in AWS. You can look for Amazon Machine Image for VM series in the marketplace. Here you can see that the pay-as-you-go series, there is several options that we can choose, and the option will be defined by the security services that we want. And once you select the preferred EMI or Amazon Machine Image, you need to select the instance type. The instance type will depend on the specification that we need. The higher the instance type that we choose, then the CPU that we can use is much higher. The amount of the CPU will be reflect on the performance that the VM series firewall could handle. Following the explanation before, we can answer the questions number one. The answer for the questions number one is B. Amazon Machine Image or EMI. Let's go to the questions number two. The questions number two is follow. Which type of protection flow approach would best fit a customer requirement for application visibility and control between cloud-based web server and database server? The options will be A. Lateral, B. Outbound, C. Universal, or D. Inbound. Let's check the deployment option of VM series firewall in AWS on the next slide. Here is the inbound architecture. The traffic will come from the internet and it will hit the internet gateway of AWS. Then the traffic is forwarded to gateway load balance endpoint, and then the traffic will be forwarded to the GWP, and it will forward to the VM series firewalls. And on the VM series firewall, the traffic will be inspected and enforced by the policy that we configured, and then the traffic will be returned to the GWP and back to the GWP endpoint. That will route the traffic to the application node as desired. This is the architecture of the inbound traffic flow. So the traffic will come from the internet and hit the application. The second one is the outbound traffic flow. The outbound architecture will follow. The traffic will come from the F01 VPC and it will go to the transit gateway. The transit gateway will check the route table and it will forward the traffic to the GWP endpoint, and GWP endpoint is in line with the GWP, and the GWP will be forwarded the traffic to the VM series. The VM series using the private interface, and the VM series will be inspect the traffic and enforce the policy. Once the policy is allowed, and the traffic will exit through the interface that facing the internet gateway. The last one is the east-west traffic flow. The east-west traffic flow is follows. The traffic comes from the application 001 VPC and it will go to the transit gateway. The transit gateway will then forward the traffic to the GWP endpoint. From the GWP endpoint, it will directed to the GWP, and the traffic will be forwarded to the VM series. The available VM series firewall will inspect the traffic and enforce the policy. Once the policy is allowed, it will return the traffic to the GWP, and also the GWP endpoint will be forward the traffic to the transit gateway and check the route table to the desired destination. Desired destination is the F002 VPC, and this is the sample of the east-west traffic. And from this sample, we know that the east-west traffic is also can be called with the lateral architecture. The lateral architecture is by design will allow the traffic come from the one VPC or one segment server to the other segment server. Then the answer for the questions number 2 is A, lateral or east-west. Let's go to the questions number 3. The questions number 3 is follow. A cloud engineer is considered distribute models to support outbound and inbound traffic flows. Which of the traffic flows are all supported by the distributed model? The options will be A, north-south traffic flows from VPC to the public internet, east-west traffic flows within the VPC, and north-south traffic flow from public internet back to the VPC. Or B, east-west traffic flow within the VPC and north-south traffic flow from VPC to the public internet. Or C, east-west traffic flow between VPC and east-west traffic flow within the VPC. Or D, north-south traffic flow from public internet back to the VPC, east-west traffic flow between VPC and east-west traffic flow within the VPC. To answer this question, let's check the deployment option for cloud next generation firewall. Here is the high level of cloud NGFW using distributed deployment. Notice that each of the VPC here will have the NGFW endpoint that is connected to each NGFW for each VPC. This deployment of cloud NGFW will inspect the inbound or outbound traffic flow and also the traffic between subnet in the VPC. To clarify these models, let me show you in the next slide. The first one is the distributed deployment for the outbound. The outbound, the traffic comes from the instance on the subnet, and the instance will direct the traffic to the NGFW endpoint. From the NGFW endpoint will forward the traffic to NGFW, and the NGFW will back to the NGFW endpoint and forward to the NAT gateway and to the internet. This kind of model ensure that the traffic that outgoing from the instance will be inspected by the cloud next generation firewall. The next is distributed deployment for the inbound traffic. The inbound traffic will come from the internet and hit the internet gateway. The internet gateway will then forward to the NGFW endpoint. The NGFW endpoint will then send to the NGFW cloud NGFW. The cloud NGFW will inspect the traffic and send back to the NGFW endpoint and route to the application load balance. This is the application load balance will then send the traffic to the instance that the application. The last one is the intra VPC. So the distributed deployment can inspect the intra VPC between subnet. The first traffic comes from the subnet 2. The traffic will then pointing to the NGFW endpoint and the cloud NGFW, and then hit the subnet 1 to the destination application. This intra VPC then can maximize the inspection for within the VPC for the different subnet. Then the answer for the questions number 3 is A, north-south traffic flow from VPC to the public internet, which is the outbound, and then the east-west traffic flow within the VPC, which is the intra VPC, and then the north-south traffic flow from public internet back to the VPC, which is the inbound architecture. Let's go to the questions number 4. The questions number 4 is follow. Which automation tools should be used to create policies for cloud next generation firewall for AWS? The options will be A, Ansible, Terraform, and Panorama Console, or B, Panorama Console and Panorama API only, or C, Terraform, Panorama Console and Panorama API, or D, Panorama API, Ansible, Terraform, and Panorama Console. To answer these questions, let's check the options to create policies for cloud NGFW. As you can see here, we have an option to use Panorama. The Panorama is a centralized platform from Palo Alto Networks to manage its firewalls. By using Panorama, security admin will have the capability to maintain policy from single dashboard and will simplify the operation. Panorama has multiple ways to be used. One is using the graphical user interface or web UI, or using Panorama API to build script for automation. As Panorama has API, Cloud's next generation firewall can also enable its programmatic access. The programmatic access will enable the Cloud's next generation firewall to be managed using the automation via API. The automation tool that we can use, such as the Terraform and then the cloud formation template. Then from above explanation, we now can answer the questions number 4, and the answer for the questions number 4 is C, Terraform, Panorama Console, and Panorama API. Let's go to the questions number 5. The questions number 5 is follow. What is the correct sequence of events for uploading by the Intelligent Traffic Offload or ITO services? The options will be A, sample packet sent to ITO. ITO instructs Smart NIC to inspect of bypass. Smart NIC send rest of flow to VM series for inspection. Or B, ITO instructs Smart NIC to inspect of bypass. Sample packet sent to ITO. Smart NIC forward flow directly to destinations. Or C, sample packet sent to ITO. ITO instructs Smart NIC to inspect of bypass. Smart NIC forward flow directly to destination. Or D, ITO instructs Smart NIC to inspect of bypass. Sample packet sent to ITO. Smart NIC send rest of flow to VM series for inspection. Let's understand the flow of ITO or Intelligent Traffic Offload in the next slide. Here we have two figures. The figure 1 is flow of ITO when the traffic is being inspected, while the second one is flow of ITO when it offloads or bypassing the traffic. ITO or Intelligent Traffic Offload integrates with Smart NIC. Then the ITO will determine whether or not the flow of traffic can benefit from security inspection. This is why the ITO have the capability to bypass or redirect the traffic to the VM series for inspection. The flow is follows. The first packet of the flow, sample flow, will route to the firewall for inspected by the Intelligent Traffic Offload services, which determine whether the rest of the packet in the flow should be inspected or uploaded. If ITO determine the traffic to be inspected, then the rest of the traffic will be forwarded by Smart NIC to the VM series. Otherwise, if the ITO determine that the traffic can be uploaded, it will command the Smart NIC to forward the traffic directly to the destination without inspection of the VM series. From above explanation, then we can simplify the sequence of traffic for offloading with the answer of C. Sample packet sent to ITO. ITO then instruct the Smart NIC to bypass. The Smart NIC then forward flow directly to the destination. Let's go to the questions number 6. The questions number 6 is follow. After configuring a new software VM series firewall, the network team cannot detect any traffic being transmitted or received on the correct VLAN of the network switch. However, they are able to ping the management IP. Which two actions should be taken to troubleshoot this issue? Choose 2. The options will be A, use TCP dump, or B, debug flow grid, or C, check the port group and port mapping on the hypervisor, or D, show counter global filter. Let's find out how we can do a network troubleshooting for VM series firewall in the next slide. To do a troubleshooting for connectivity on VM series firewall, the first thing is you need to check whether the intended interface are receiving traffic or transmitting the traffic or not. You can check this by using command on CLI using the command show counter global filter delta Y. Then it will show whether the interface are receiving traffic or not. The second thing to be noted are interface mapping. The interface mapping for VM series on ESX are follow. On each NIC that are being selected, it can be assigned to Ethernet interface of VM series with NIC 1 will always for management. That's why the ping will always works for the management interface. Then if you are about to add additional interface, you will need to reboot the firewall and make sure that the mapping are correct, because the NIC will automatically reorder here. You can check the NIC number 2. Previously is the Ethernet 3 and 4, and then the NIC number 2 is used by the Ethernet 1 and Ethernet 2 because we enable the Ethernet 1 and Ethernet 2 in the last action. Then we need to recheck is the mapping is correct or not. The answer for the questions number 6 is C and D. Check the port group and port mapping on the hypervisor and show counter global features from CLI. Let's go to the questions number 7. The questions number 7 is follow. Which service enables a firewall or Panorama to download apps ID for unknown SaaS application from the cloud? The options will be A. FIT Cloud Engine, or B. Application Library, or C. Application Machine Learning Engine, or D. FIT Database Engine. Let's understand features that Palo Alto offers regarding unknown SaaS application. For SaaS application, Palo Alto has features that can gain visibility into SaaS application. The feature is SaaS Security Inline. This feature can be enabled on firewalls, and the firewalls will act as sensor to identify SaaS application on traffic that is being processed by the firewall. This visibility then can enable security to get more discovery, control, reporting regarding the use of the SaaS application. Palo Alto can identify the SaaS application via SaaS Security Inline because it leverages the App ID Cloud Engine technology that monitor SaaS application and can provide SaaS policy rules to provide greater and faster SaaS application discovery. Then from understanding of the SaaS inline security, we know that the Palo Alto can use the application cloud engine to determine the SaaS application. So the answer of the question number 7 is A. Application ID cloud engine. Let's go to the questions number 8 or the last question. The question is follow. What are 3 valid deployment options for Panorama in Amazon Web Service or AWS? Choose 3. The option is follow. A. Panorama in AWS for management and log collections, or B. Panorama in AWS and Panorama on-premise for high availability array, or C. Panorama in AWS CN series for Factor for management and logging collection, or D. Panorama in AWS with Cortex Data Lake, or E. On-premise Panorama with log collectors in AWS. Let's discuss the options to deploy Panorama with AWS environment in the next slide. As every Panorama deployment, we can also deploy Panorama with Panorama mode directly into AWS by deploying Panorama instance on management VPC. With Panorama mode, the Panorama instance will be responsible to manage the VM series firewall on the security VPC, and also responsible for logging services from the VM set. Second one is the Panorama management on AWS that we deploy on the management VPC, and the Cortex data lakes that we enable to receive or store the logs from the Palo Alto VM series firewall. This option actually will save the resource to build Panorama on the AWS, and the flexible capacity of the Cortex data lake can store as much as a log that we can use for storing the logs from the VM series firewall. The last option is the Panorama on-premise with Panorama log collector on the AWS. The Panorama on-premise will responsible for managing the VM series firewall, and then the Panorama with log collector mode can deploy on the VPC on the AWS and will responsible to receive and store the logs from the VM series firewall. Then from above option, we can answer the questions number A, and the answer is A, D, and E. Panorama in AWS for management and log collections, Panorama in AWS with Cortex data lake, and on-premise Panorama with log collectors in AWS. That concludes our training for today. I hope you found this overview of PCSFE exam topics helpful. Be sure to check out 591live.com for more online course, practice exams, and training materials to continue your certification preparation. You can also visit www.591search.com to learn more about our full suite of services. Thanks for joining today's class, and I wish you the best of luck on your certification journey. See you!